Happy Friday! It is In the Loop. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us today. I know Greg has some really fun news I'm excited to hear about. And for those who are brand new to the show, welcome to In the Loop with Winnie and Greg. I am Winnie's son, longtime financial pro, CNBC and Forbes contributor, and CNBC council member, and host, of course, of Level Up, which can be found on NASDAQ. But Greg, how has your week been going? I hear you've been busy.
It's been pretty busy, but in a fun way. So lots of stuff to talk about this week. I'm Greg Nibbler, for anybody who doesn't know, longtime tech reporter, current reporter, and anchor and producer for Fox 12 Oregon. And this week, you know, if everybody out there has watched this show before, you know I like space stuff. And it's been a good week for that category of things. So we're going to talk all about that here coming up, about what this huge moon landing means, why it's so important, and what it means going forward. So we're going to be covering that. Plus, I may have a robot, and we've got a tip on your phone. If you drop it into water, which I have done, unfortunately, several times, what not to do. So we've got that coming up as well. So lots of stuff to cover today. But as always, you know, we're live here on all these different platforms, and that means we can hear from you as well. So if you have any feedback, comments, questions, feel free to drop those in. Let us know what they are. And you know, even just your opinions about what we're talking about. Always love to have that, because that's part of the fun of being here. You know, we're here with Winnie, number one, but also we get to all talk to each other as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Greg. And yes, we are live, and I see a lot of friends joining us on all the different platforms today. So don't be shy. Jump in and say hello. We love to see you. But I'm going to kick it off and tell you about all things finance, because we've got a really busy week, or closing off this week. Currently, let's talk about the Dow. The Dow is up 115 points. The NASDAQ is down up 15 as well, and S&P 500 is also up 12. So we're currently positive across the board. The market hasn't closed yet, but nonetheless, let's hope this continues. Now, the S&P 500 is now has slightly, retreats after surpassing the 5,100 mark. But get this, it is currently in the positive, and this is something that we like to see. Obviously, you probably have heard there's been some changes with the Dow, and of course, the NASDAQ is adding another 100-something points. This is a good day, and I think we need days like this as we go forward. Of course, the markets have had a very robust session yesterday, particularly driven by Nvidia. If you hadn't seen already, the S&P 500 recording its best day since January of 2023, and the NASDAQ also saw a 3% rise. And Dow also is enjoying a slight increase of over 1% as well. So despite some of the things that have happening, there's still been a lot of talk about how sustainable this market is, and whether it can continue to stay in the positive, or if there's going to be more discussions of like interest rates, inflation, of course, the talk of potential recession. But no matter what, I think we can all agree there's going to be some market balances, and there's going to be definitely more volatility going on in the coming weeks and months as well. So, Greg, I really want to share a little bit of news today as well. I think this is going to be something that all of you don't find surprising, but still really interesting. Let's talk about Twitter. All right. Twitter, which is now X, which obviously is under the control of Elon Musk. Get this. So Twitter had a review by the FTC over some of the regulations. And get this, it was saved. Twitter, the company itself, was saved because employees didn't listen to everything that Elon Musk told them to do. And because of this, an FTC investigation outcome, Twitter, which is now X, didn't breach any FTC mandates on data and security practices because they didn't listen to the boss. Greg, did you hear about this?
I did not hear about this. I'm not surprised. I guess that they might disobey, although I am surprised they stayed around long enough. So he must not have known, is my guess, that they were doing this. But that's a pretty interesting take on that. That his employees disobeyed him. That's the only reason that he's saved right now.
Yeah, and we can all agree that Elon Musk obviously very, very smart, genius, really good
Sure.
at building, he's done some amazing things. But just because you're smart and just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you always know what you should and shouldn't be doing. And this is a
Correct.
perfect example of this. So Elon, I guess, gave instructions to give complete transparency to reporters, granting full access to everything at Twitter, which would have led to a complete violation of FTC restrictions on how to handle data and security protocols. But fortunately, Twitter IT staff who had been at Twitter way before Elon came about definitely prioritized regulatory compliance over Elon's orders. So luckily, they didn't listen to the boss, and this prevented journalists from accessing really sensitive internal systems, which then allowed them to stay within legal bounds. So this was a big thing. This is following $150 million fine that occurred at Twitter on May of 2022 about Twitter's misuse of user data. So basically, number one, hopefully these employees are still there. Second of all, I hope Elon gave them at least a pat on the back, if not like some sort of monetary benefit, because this could have been so much bigger than it became thanks to these really smart employees. So if you're listening to this, I think this is just one of the many examples of just because people think you're really smart doesn't mean you always make good decisions. We're still human after all. And at the end of the day, you want to make the decision which is the right one, the ethical decision. In this case, kudos to the employees for doing that. And so the next story that I want to share with you is a big one. And I know, Greg, you and I have talked about this for a few weeks now, but that is to talk about mortgage rates. Now, mortgage rates have been in the news for quite some time, and it doesn't seem like it's getting much better. It's mortgage rates started to come down slightly, a few weeks ago, a few months ago, in fact, but now they seem to be creeping up once again. So if you're thinking about buying a house, well, you might be in for some bad news if you're looking to establish a mortgage, because now there's been a third consecutive increase on mortgage rates, now hitting 6.9%. It was not that long ago, it was over 7%. And so because of that, even though the weather is starting to get a little bit better, like warmer in many parts of the United States, it's beautiful. I know, Greg, you were saying for your neighborhood this weekend, but unfortunately that does mean that a lot of people are sitting out on the housing market yet again, being concerned about mortgage rates, and of course hoping mortgage rates will go down, which could lead to some more instability in the housing markets as well. So that's sort of just a heads up that, well, a lot of people say they don't know where mortgage rates are currently. They're almost at 7%. So that's where that. Okay. And then I've
That's
got
high.
one more last one, and then we're going to go to Greg because this is a big one that I want to make sure that everyone is aware of. Because the Biden administration has once again announced a $1.2 billion student debt forgiveness plan. So this is a big one. This is going to impact 153,000 Americans under this new Saving on a Valuable Education Save plan. This is going to forgive about $1.2 billion. Now, here's the good thing, you don't have to do anything about this. If you are one of the lucky ones that is going to get your student loan forgiven, you're simply going to get an email from President Joe Biden. And then you don't have to do anything else. And you're just going to be able to have more money, I guess, each and every month. So that is the news that I want to share with everyone, Greg, this week. I think that's the big one. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the changes that are coming, suggesting changes coming to the 401k and IRA's tax benefits, and what the government is thinking about doing in terms of trying to relieve Social Security. But that's a big one. That's going to be a big story. So you definitely want to tune in next week to hear about that.
Yeah, that's why I like hearing it from you, because you explain it so it can make sense to me. Somebody who's not a complete financial person. So I appreciate that, Woody. I've learned a lot here just in
Yay.
the first part of this show. I do have some stuff here too. So Probably everybody's aware of the moon landing that happened yesterday, or maybe you saw something posted about it, heard about it. So I wanted to talk about that and about what happened, and why it's a really big deal. So Intuitive Machines is the name of the company that put the lander down, and they're a company out of Houston, so a private company, and they've been working with NASA for years on this project to send a lander to the moon. Do that, this is really their technology, but working in collaboration with NASA. And we'll go to the lander side here first. So the lander itself was going to be bringing, or it, well, successfully did bring 6 different scientific experiments and projects and tests along with it in this capsule, landing it on to the south pole of the moon. And the US has not had a successful landing on the moon from either a private organization or the government in 50 years. So this is a big deal. So
Wow.
that's been since the early 70s since we last were able to put something onto the moon successfully. So this is the start of what's projected to be a whole lot, or what's hoped to be a whole lot more of these. But the important thing here is partnering with this private company, because this is them running the show. Again, with NASA's help and full collaboration and even NASA money, but still a private company doing it. And NASA is really advocating for this. They even have a program for it that's just designed to give out money and contracts to private companies to try to encourage them to figure out how to bring supplies to the moon. And it's going to be cheaper in the long run, because these are companies that can spend money and lose money quicker and faster, but then also develop more, more ways to go about it to bring things to the moon. And the goal is all part of this overarching program called Artemis. And it's all about bringing humans back to the moon, and in a permanent way. So setting
Mm.
up a moon base. That's like the far off the far off goal is establishing a moon base. But you need companies like Intuitive Machines, private companies, SpaceX as well, all working on how to bring things there, how to get supplies there, how to make it efficient, doing it over and over and repeating it. And that's going to be the big thing, is repeating it over and over. So this is a big first step. The fact that they were successful and this is on there, they're still going to be getting a lot of data back. So we'll find out if everything worked perfectly, over the next few days. But it successfully landed on the moon, and on the south pole of the moon in this crater down there. It's a really, really big deal when it comes to where we're going to be going with space exploration and having a private company do this.
That is so incredible, Greg. I know you were talking about this on the show last week, and I,
Mhm.
I, I mean, I think we can all agree, right, that private companies probably are much more nimble than government agencies with more red tape. There's probably a lot more bureaucracy that they
Yeah.
have to go through. So this is exciting, and you're right. So, Greg, like there's a lot of interest, right, to get to space, to develop, put pods at different planets, if you will. But what is sort of the bigger picture here? Are they just realizing that Earth is not going to be the end all location of humans? Are humans going to be moving to other planets? Is that the goal?
Well, I mean, I think there's some philosophical things that could be played into that, but part of it is, yeah, just expanding the footprint of humans. Also, exploration. Going out to other places, seeing what we can do. I think once you get onto the moon too, it's how to tap into resources. I mean, eventually, if you look at it from the commercial side of things, there's the goal of what's untapped there on the moon. Even, can you access some of the ice that's there, water that's there? Can you use this as a launching pad to maybe harvest an asteroid? Which that's, I'm sure, the goal of a lot of companies eventually, is to be able to do that, because asteroids are just space rock somewhere,
Mhm.
because there's so many minerals and so much out there, so many resources that you could grab. So it could help with that side of things. But I think it's establishing that moon base and then using that as the jumping off point to go to Mars, to do all of these other things. And I guess, yeah, uh, depending on how you look at it, whether it's the commercial side, make money,
Mhm.
or the philosophical side, or just the future of
Or
humanity
resources.
side, get us off the planet and go somewhere else, and have humans, get beyond just Earth. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, but I like it no matter how it is you're looking at it when it comes to that side of things. I
Mhm.
just think it's a great step.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Thank you, Greg, for sharing that with us. And I want to thank you so much, CrossX Fighter, joining us on YouTube Live. It is great to see you as well. Thanks so much for sending that message. Happy Friday to you as well. Very cool, Greg.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Yeah, so there's that. I was going to say, so the Artemis mission side of it, that's the NASA side where they're partnering with these private companies. So there's going to be more and more of these, ideally. But then the goal is maybe the end of next year they're going to send an actual manned flight out around the moon and back, not landing on the moon, but sending somebody around, crew around the moon and back, and then maybe the next year, maybe a couple more years, then we'll send actually a crew to the moon and land on the moon again for the first time, since the
Wow.
early 70s.
Very cool.
So yeah, so that's part of all of this over the next few years. Hopefully we'll be seeing
Amazing.
a lot of successful stories, mission accomplished stories.
Yeah,
So we
that's
got that.
what a big accomplishment. Thank you so much, Greg, for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. Okay, we'll do something that's a little bit more here on the Earth side of things. How many of you have ever dropped your phone in water? I have done it, unfortunately, a few times. And you get that dreaded, like, at least from me on the Android, there's this horrible like beeping sound that lets you know that your phone is taken in water. And a lot of people. Let me ask you this, Winnie. What do you normally have? You ever dropped your phone in water?
So we have, family of 5 and there, yes, I think my husband dropped it in water. And what we did is I looked this up on YouTube, right? So I think one time we stuck it in like a bowl of rice. And the second time we found I've been now collecting those like little packets that come with everything that like, I guess, suck up moisture. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm talking about? Those little tiny packets that, I
Yeah, that's probably a good idea for that one.
don't know.
The rice one, that's what I've always done too. I'll take a bag of rice. You're supposed to put it in there. The rice is gonna suck the moisture out. Well,
Yeah.
Apple is now telling everybody don't do that. That's a
Oh,
bad idea.
really?
They're saying that tiny particles from the rice can get into your phone, and you should not put it in a bag of rice. So
Really?
they're saying you could do more damage than good. So if you are to get water, they do have some recommendations on what
Okay.
to do here. Let me pull this up just because I, again, that's what I always did too. Put it in a bag of rice. Okay. So Apple is saying, don't use compressed air. So that's what some people do is they, get some compressed air and spray it on there. Don't do that. They're saying don't use a hair dryer or a space heater or something like that. Don't put it next to a heater to try to dry it out. So all things not to do.
What are you supposed to do?
Right? I know. That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, don't use a cotton swab or a paper towel if the connector's wet. So don't try to do that. Don't try to dry it out that way. They're saying the best way to do this is to actually set it out where there's a lot of airflow. You can put it next to a fan and let just regular temperature air blow over it. And that is going to be the best way to try to dry it out.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I wonder what the other thing that I do, right? I wonder if that would be okay just to have a bunch of those like
Yeah, I don't see it
items.
addressing that because that's a good point because that's what that's designed to take it
I
out,
learned that
unless
on
there's like
TikTok.
small particles that could get into the phone.
Yeah. I mean, they're in little steel containers. So I saw that on TikTok, and ever since I've been collecting them, I have a Ziploc bag full of them. Just like you just never know. Like I
Right.
have 3 kids, and
Yeah.
those things I get so many of those things, so I just keep them.
Yeah. No, I mean it seems like that would be a good idea. I'd be very curious to see what Apple would say about that. But the pretty much all those other ones, I've done all those other ones that they're saying not to do.
Even the heater.
I, I've tried to clean it out. If the port got wet or I mean, and sometimes here, I'll be honest, because I'm in the Northwest. Like if you're walking around outside, it's raining half the time. So if you're on your phone, inevitably, sometimes you'll get water into a port.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've done rice, I've done the heater, I've done the swab. So I guess don't do any of those things
I
according
thought
to
the
Apple.
rice was a thing to do. It just seemed like it
That's
was
what I thought.
easy.
That's
Yeah.
just what I've always known. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, throw it in a bag of rice. I guess we're not supposed to do that. So yeah, putting it out into the open air. Don't put it in like a closed drawer or anything. And next to a fan is fine, and just let it naturally air dry
I
out.
guess it depends. I mean, what if it fell in the bottom of the ocean? You're gonna just let it sit there for a while? Like, how long will it take? It'll take like months to get that thing dried
Well,
out.
yeah, if it ever works again, um, yeah, that's true. But that's their recommendations, is to just do it that way.
Cool.
So, yeah. Anyway, I wanted to pass that along. All right, I do have one last thing here too, and this is about a robot. So you know that I like to bring anytime that there is a robot story out there, I want to bring that to you. This is one coming from China, and it's talking about this is an EV manufacturer, electric vehicle manufacturer in China, who has released this video showcasing a robot that's going to be working on their line of cars. And see, you can see them there on the assembly line. And yeah, I wanted to show this one so you can see how this robot is working. But also, this is what we're going to be seeing more and more everywhere. So it's not just this one. But looking at the dexterity of it, I mean, yeah, it's not very fast, but having all of those different ranges of motion, and there's the onboard camera of it as it's taking a look at the cars. That's it looks like it's powered too by something that's giving it power right there, so it can probably last longer. But that's pretty impressive to see it there, and also probably unnerving to some people, I would guess. This is UBTech humanoid robot walker. That's a kind of intimidating name, but humanoid robot walker.
You need the special effects and the voice to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if this guy can come to my house and do dishes and fold laundry, I'll open the door and welcome the
Yep.
walker into the house, no issue. And it doesn't get sick and it doesn't need rest and doesn't need sick leave. All good.
Yeah, right. I mean, ultimately, that's totally the case. Like if it can be here and clean my roof off, which is one of the number one things I always want, and then also, yeah, handle some laundry and some other things. Fantastic. This is from UB Tech Robotics. This one's about 57 inches tall, weighs 170 pounds. When it does use battery, so it
Oh,
takes
it's
2 hours to
like a
charge, has a
full-blown
battery
adult.
life of 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it probably needs to pick up the speed a little bit, but otherwise, that seems pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been, Greg, too. I went to the Tesla factory a few years ago to do the tour. I mean,
cool.
it looks like Transformers working on cars. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be more and more the norm of seeing robotics like that. I mean, they are already in place in a lot of companies already, but you're gonna start seeing it. I mean, you got the big companies that are doing it, but I think you're gonna start seeing it even smaller companies, and eventually down to even small businesses. Probably we'll find
Small
some way to utilize it.
businesses. I just want one at the house, Greg. I think
Yep.
like
Yep.
technology is getting close. I just want someone to do the dishes. I mean, it's not asking for that much.
It's not.
And then from there we'll build from there, right? We'll do some
Yeah.
programming.
Fold laundry. That would be great.
Yeah.
I would take a robot that can do that.
Full on.
Yeah, so that's what I had though for this week. I know it's not as much as I normally bring, but all the space coverage this week took up a lot of that. So I do want to say too, though, there's a lot of great videos out there for the Artemis missions and for that lander. So if you haven't seen those, I would say go take a look at those. They're pretty cool stuff.
Amazing, amazing. I love it. I mean, I'm really excited to see more development and, of course, seeing more of your updates going forward. I know there's so many developments now. It's like every show, Greg, I'm wondering what you're going to bring. So, really cool. So, thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
And I think we're just at the brink, like more robotics, more AI. Just fast forward 5 to 10 years. Hopefully,
Oof.
life will
Yeah.
get even easier.
Who knows? 5 to 10 years. Yeah, it could be crazy.
It could be crazy. But on that note, I mean, it's almost a weekend. So, the
Yes.
market's still up. It's looking great. And I see wonderful. Yeah. Cross Fire Joshua he knows very clearly based on comments here. I don't like to do dishes. No, I don't like to do dishes. I really don't like to do that. I don't mind doing laundry, but dishes, not my thing.
No,
But yeah,
that's
it's amazing to spend this Friday time with all of you, and of course, with you, especially Greg. But hope that you have a great weekend. I mean, enjoy the beautiful weather there.
Yes, I am definitely going to get out of the indoors and go see some sunlight. That's going to be my goal for this
Yeah,
weekend.
that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have 2 days of outdoors with the family. It's gonna be so much fun. So thank
Nice.
you everybody for joining us, and thank you so much for all the comments, and of course, for all the shares. And like Greg always says, if you see anything that you think will be of interest for the show, feel free to send messages to at Greg Nibbler or at Winnie Sun, and we of course really appreciate your time here, and we look forward to seeing you each and every week.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care. Bye bye now.